like to call this meeting of the Executive Board to order and ask you to stand and join me in the pledge. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing. We have a memorial that Mr. Carnahan would like to make.
I drove I-65 coming in here, and I set my cruise control at 45 miles an hour and drove past the spot where a 35-year-old LaPorte resident got killed, and people were flying by me. It is a shame, and I think we need to take a moment of silence to remember that individual that lost his life and pray for his family.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Carnahan. Please be seated. As we are short one member for the Executive Board meeting, we will do what we can on the agenda that does not require action. So action items will be held in abeyance until we find another body on the Executive Board to be present with us. So we'll start with a new appointment to the Commission. Mr. Lowe.
Good morning. I have two certificates of appointment to report to you this evening. One is from Mayor Freeman Wilson and from the City of Gary, and the second is from Jane Jordan, the Clerk Treasurer with the Town of Burns Harbor, appointing Eric Hall. And just to be clear, Mayor Freeman Wilson's is appointing herself. Both of those are in proper form and are acceptable.
Okay, those appointments are valid without a vote? All right, and we've accomplished that. We'll have to skip the minutes. That needs a vote. I will go to my report. There's action that is requested on Resolution 1629 that we'll have to hold in abeyance, but I have a couple other items on the report of the chair that I'll go ahead. Those of you that were fortunate enough to be able to attend our meeting in Maryville last month with Bill Hanna will recall that there was support in that meeting, strong support in that meeting for some sort of action endorsing three specific initiatives of the RDA. One of them was the Westlake Corridor. The other was two-tracking of the South Shore. And the third was transit-oriented development at stations. That is basically what that resolution is designed to do. If we can pass it, that would endorse those three actions. So just to give you an update, I believe he asked for support and was given the assurance that we would take a hard look at that. So at any rate, until we have a number of people that can vote to pass that resolution, we'll hold that on the side. But I thought I'd let you know what that's all about before it comes up on the other. The second thing is I have a nominating committee to appoint for next year's Executive Board committee. And I am appointing the following people to the nominating committee for Executive Board nominations. One of them is Diane Knoll, our current chair of the Finance and Personnel Committee. The other is Michael Griffin, the vice chair of the commission, and myself. One from each county, and we will proceed with looking at Executive Board nominations and bring those back to the commission at the appropriate time. The third thing would be, it has become evident that there are urban core and environmental justice concerns that could be more explicitly written into our existing committee structure. And we need to make some recommendations to that effect. We will take action on this in order to address the need for more explicit communication, or more explicit language. Number one, the Local Assistance Committee, the charge for the Local Assistance Committee will be specifically given the charge of supporting urban core communities. And that is the Local Assistance Committee. The committee still exists. We're going to add that to their job description. Number two, the Outreach Committee will be charged to have a specific awareness of environmental justice issues. That's the Outreach Committee. That's in its infancy stage, and we're about to the end of the appointment cycle, so there'll be people that can sign up. I hope more people sign up for committee assignments this year on a timely basis than what we had at the beginning of this year, which led to some difficulties, but we overcame them, I think. As I had mentioned previously, this new paradigm that we're using for committee structure has created some discussion. Part of that discussion was that we use the same acronym for the TPC. It's not Transportation Policy Committee, it's Technical Policy Planning Committee. And it doesn't do the same things that the old TPC did. And without going into a lot of the detail that's contained in your committee descriptions that were handed out, without a careful reading of that, assumptions could be made that that committee is performing the same functions. It is not. It is not the same committee, although it has the same acronym. And that has led to some issues as far as clarification. So we have made some in-flight adjustments. One in-flight adjustment was for the transit operators to add 2 additional directly funded transit operators to the committee with voting privileges. And these 2 adjustments that I'm mentioning this morning are specifically designed to be more explicit for the cause of urban core and environmental justice concerns. One can't help, and environmental justice is a legal term that means more than birds and trees. It means the quality of life that our folks live in. And those concerns need to have a voice. And that voice, I think, will be heard through these 2 committees. That's our goal. So if you're interested in being on either one of those committees, when the sign-up comes out, make sure you put your name down for a priority on there so that the chair can, whoever that may be, can recognize that and get people in the right slots where their interests are. Those are what we would call in-flight corrections that they only become apparent. No aspersions cast on the efforts made to come with a new paradigm, but at the same time, no new paradigm comes without its need for some adjustments and reconfigurations. And we have become aware of that and want to make those changes, and they'll be written into the job description for those 2 committees. So when you get the opportunity to sign up, we look forward to, at the beginning of the year, having additional duties for those committees, and hopefully we'll get people that are interested in dealing with issues that folks have to deal with in the urban core. We need to do more on that. So that's just one of those things that comes with a new plan. So thank you for that. Also, I want to announce that the comment period on the MPO consideration has been extended, so that I would say I'd like to attribute it to the unified concern that we showed from NERC and from local towns and cities that NERC's combination with CMAP and other regional MPOs was not the way to go, and we need more time to explain why. And consequently, hopefully the voices were heard. Evidently somebody's voice was heard, may not be ours. It might have been Congressman Vizgla, it could have been anybody. But that comment period has been extended until October the 24th, excuse me, October the 24th. So if you have anybody who's on the fence as far as getting a hold of the powers that be, Mary Thorne here can give you the address of who needs to hear from you, and you can voice your concerns yet. And I think that would be impressive if we could add more voices to those that have already been heard, because it would give those considering this decision an opportunity to maybe think there's more objection to what is proposed than what they might have assumed in the beginning. So if you could join the chorus and speak for the independence of our MPO and the continued existence of NERC, we certainly appreciate that, and I think it'll go a long way now that the comment period has been extended until the 24th. Doesn't give us a lot of time, but I think with a certain amount of effort, it could give us enough time to get things sent in. So I apologize, not really, I explained that my chair report was a little lengthier than it is normally, but I believe that all those items needed to be reviewed so that you're aware of the direction that we're going, the nominating committee, the extended period of comment, the changes to our committee structure for urban core concerns, and the nature of our support for RDA and their efforts for the projects they're going through, which Bill Hanna did such a good job at explaining at our last meeting. So I thank you for your indulgence, and I won't ask for a motion on the resolution because I don't have the people to pass it. So at this point, I'll turn the chair of the meeting over to our executive director.
Thank you, Mr. Tunn. First of all, just I promise not to make this long myself to take advantage of waiting for another quorum. We may be actually jumping to further items on the agenda sooner. I was going to ask you to make sure you stay through the announcements today. We have a special recognition coming up, but we may get there sooner than we had thought. So if we do start voting on things, please make sure you stay till the end of the agenda so that you can be here for that. I'll be speaking tomorrow morning at Ivy Tech. The Construction Advancement Foundation and Northwest Indiana Business Interests have me on a panel with a bunch of other folks to talk about the transportation network in Northwest Indiana. So I'm sure I'll see some of you there, and if you are there, please don't heckle too loudly. Comments under your breath are fine, but please don't shout them out. But we appreciate your support if you're there and all the good work that you all do, because that's what I'm trying to spread the word about tomorrow morning. Mr. Tunn mentioned the MPO consolidation notice of proposed rulemaking, that was extended to October 24th, and as he said, there was a great outpouring. We've talked about this in the past at other meetings, a great outpouring of letters objecting to that rule, and at the very least asking for an extension. Most of those requests ask for an extension of at least 60 to 120 days to answer more of the questions that the U.S. Department of Transportation raised. They only gave 30 days of additional notice, and they reopened the comment period after they had previously closed it. So it was a little bit of a surprise to have it reopen. So some folks are scrambling to add some additional comments, but by the point that it became clear it appeared they weren't going to extend it, a lot of folks got their comments in. We are working on a follow-up joint letter with CMAP, the Chicago Metropolitan Agency for Planning, and with SewerPAC, the Southeastern Wisconsin Regional Planning Commission. We're putting the finishing touches on that, so that will get submitted on behalf of those three entities, still in opposition, but diving into a little bit more detail on what that rule proposed. And as I've said before, I still maintain, based on everything that I'm hearing, I'd be extremely shocked at this point if this rule became final. There's been such an outpouring across the country, but it is important to be aware of. Just some quick recognitions, and I may actually, I thought about saving these to the full commission when we have some more folks, but I'll go ahead and say it. We had the, of course, Indiana Bicentennial year, and I know the torch came through the area. And I know several in this room actually were, had the privilege of carrying the torch. The names I saw of our commissioners, like Bob Carnahan, Brian Snedecore, Dave Uran, Joe Stahura, Michael Griffin, Jeff Benson, and Justin Keel, I know, all at some point or other in their respective counties bared the bicentennial torch. So I don't know, Bob, if you anything you want to share about that experience. Congratulations. Yes.
I would say I carried it in Crown Point from across Jewel to the Pizza Hut, and down 3/10 of a mile. It was, the bicentennial people were taking pictures, and they got a good picture of me carrying the torch and waving. They did an excellent job. I went down to a little town that evening called Audubon, Indiana, population of 1,200. They had the extinguishing of the torch. I got invited to Indianapolis on Saturday but couldn't make it, so I went down there for the extinguishing there. I felt very sorry for that community. The buildings looked deplorable except for the post office and the library. And with a population of 1,200, I did not see too many people along the lines at Crown Point. But when they had their closing ceremony, that place was packed.
Cool.
And so I commend their little community down there and what I saw them perform.
Fantastic.
You look pretty good in the shorts, too.
So sorry if I missed anybody else that did that, but just I thought that was a great thing, and was glad to have our commissioners be literally carrying the torch for Indiana. I will mention this again at the full commission when he is actually present, since he's not on the executive board, but Justin Keel, who is our commissioner from La Crosse, who I believe is the youngest town council member in the state, I think is correct. He was awarded with the Promise of the Future Award from One Region, and we'll recognize that again when he's president of the full commission meeting, but wanted you to be aware of that. And then the last just quick recognition I wanted to make was our own Dave Schaefer, who received from IAC, the Indiana Association of Cities and Towns, the Financial Management Award. So congratulations, Dave. And Ed Soliday, who may be here next time, depending on how things are going in Indianapolis, received the Indiana Legislator of the Year award. So 2 great recognitions at that. The last item I have, unless there's any questions from anyone, is just to draw your attention. We'll reiterate this again at the end, but the next meeting is a full commission meeting. We have to approve the budget and some other things that require a full commission vote. And that is in keeping with our normal practice of not continuing on the 3rd Thursday because of the holidays. That meeting will not be until December 8th, but that is a 2nd Thursday, not a 3rd Thursday of that month. So since it is really important to have a quorum at that meeting for those items, would ask you to please get that on your calendar. So on December 8th, same place, same time. And as a special extra incentive, you've, I think, been aware that NERPC is celebrating its 50th year of existence. So on that date, on December 8th, we will plan to have some recognition of that fact and celebration of that fact. So we'll try to make that a special commission meeting on December 8th to commemorate NERPC's 50th year of regional collaboration. That is it.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, Mayor Milo is here, so she walks in and we will have her form.
Oh, good.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
in light of what I had mentioned, we also have the 200th birthday of the state, December 11th, I think it is. And then also the state parks are 100 years old, coincident with all of our anniversaries.
Good. It's a good point to bring out. And we join in the celebration, all these celebrations the same year. It's amazing all these anniversaries coming up at the same time. So now let's go back on our agenda to the matters that need a quorum to approve. And the first one, I believe, was the minutes of the September 15th meeting, and I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes if there is one.
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor of approving the minutes, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Number 4, action on Resolution 1629. This is supporting the strategic comprehensive plan of the RDA as outlined by Bill Hanna at our last meeting in Maryville.
So moved.
I have a motion to approve and a second to approve. Discussion? All those in favor of 1629, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. And I believe that is all we need to do to catch up, and we're at the point where we're ready to hear from our Finance and Personnel Committee Chair, Diane Knoll.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Finance and Personnel met this morning. There's nothing to report. We kind of reviewed a tentative budget, but we will also be bringing a recommendation to the full commission on December 8th to on the executive committee, the executive director's contract. So that will all be coming on December 8th, and that concludes my report.
Thank you. Technical Planning Committee, Mr. Griffin is not here. Is there a stand-in for presenting these resolutions?
I'm playing Mr. Griffin today.
Well, thank you, Mr. Breisky. We appreciate that.
As is understudy, the technical
Now, you
planning.
have to also use his level of vocabulary.
I will not. The Technical Planning Committee met on Tuesday, October 11th. The committee heard a presentation from staff on Greenways and Blueways 2020 plan and open house schedules. The draft plan will be ready to view online tomorrow via NERC's website, along with where the 4 open houses are scheduled to take place. The final draft of the plan is expected to be before the TPC and the Commission in December for an action to approve. Please see Mitch Barlona for details. Also, an ad hoc committee met and reviewed the B-list application solicitation for projects in Lake and Porter counties. Those were due at 4 o'clock yesterday. Project proposals would be received and ready to be presented for recommendation by the November 1st Technical Planning Committee and referred to the full commission for consideration and action at its December 8th meeting. The application deadline was yesterday. Staff will review the applications and develop draft rankings for the ad hoc committee to review. The TPC will review the rankings at their next meeting and recommend them to the NERC board for adoption at their meeting on December 8th at 9 a.m. at NERC. Bear in mind, the B list was just in case we had some extra money. No guarantees, and it's just something to watch. I think it was a great idea of this board to consider what to do with the remnant fund. Staff presented on the air quality determination between the 2040 Comprehensive Regional Plan as updated and amended the fiscal year 2016-2019 Transportation Improvement Program and the Indiana State Implementation Plan for Air Quality. There are 4 actions for consideration today. The first action is on Resolution 1630, Amendment Number 30 to Fiscal Year 2016-2019 Transportation Improvement, found on pages 14 to 19. Gary Evers will explain the amendment. If you're, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Amendment 30 consists of NDOT projects that will be implemented over the next few years. I won't go through each one individually. We've attempted to identify the location of each one of those within the document, within the amendment. The significant ones are probably the most expensive ones, but we are adding a fairly significant number of railroad crossing improvements to the TIP. Most of those are located in LaPorte, a couple in Chesterton, and several in St. John. The a number of intersection improvement projects consisting mainly of low-cost safety items such as signs, lighting, signals, and markings at a number of locations throughout the region. Finally, the most significant project that we're adding is the relocation of US 12, dropping US 12 down within the Miller area of Gary to join up with US 20, roughly 750 feet east of Lake Street. The purpose of this is to permit NDOT to relinquish a portion of US 12 to the city of Gary so that NICD may proceed with their double tracking of their rail lines in that vicinity. And that is the last project on this list. The entire list was vetted by the Indiana Consultation Group for Air Quality. It was exposed to a public comment period with no comments received, and the Tech PC did recommend its consideration by the commission. So we would ask you to approve this amendment.
The TPC recommends adoption of Resolution 1630, Amendment Number 30 to the fiscal year 2016-2019 Transportation Improvement Program.
There's a recommendation. Is there a motion on 1630?
Motion to approve.
Motion?
Second.
Second. Discussion? All those in favor of 1630, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you.
The second action is on Resolution 1630, Amendment Number 31 to the fiscal year 2016-2019 Transportation Improvement, found on pages 20 to 26. Gary Evers will explain the amendment.
Thank you. This amendment consists solely of local projects to be implemented within the three-county area. And a lot of these are changes to existing projects, such as the first two, allocating additional funding to the city of Portage for engineering work on one of their projects, allocating additional money to Schererville for work on construction activities on their sign replacement project, some funding changes to NERC within our planning program that will be explained in a resolution to follow here later on this morning. But essentially this is a reprogramming action that will allow us to reuse these funds that had been previously allocated to us. Allocation of additional funding to City of Hammond for right-of-way associated with their Marquette Greenway project. Allocation of additional funding to the town of Highland for their trail signage project that will be discussed later on in the discussion of the interlocal agreement. Significant grouping of project here for the city of LaPorte. LaPorte was the first community in the region to have their pavement management asset plan approved by both Federal Highway and NDOT, and as a result, they are able to expend federal funds for pavement maintenance and preventive maintenance activities. So you see those activities here. The next step will be handing these off and getting the bidding documents going. So we should have this pavement work done by next spring. City of Crown Point, we are increasing the award there for a right-of-way project in the vicinity of Crown Point High School. An innovative project in Merrillville. Next, Central Lake County Signal Preemption Projects. This will enable all the first responders, EMTs, fire, police within Central Lake County to be equipped with the transponders on their vehicles that will cause the traffic signals to turn. The first four communities participating in this are Merrillville, Hobart, Crown Point, Schererville, and we have four other communities that we're appending on to this. So this is kind of the first phase of two that we're doing here. The next project, it allocates additional funding for kind of a joint NDOT state project and a City of Gary project in the vicinity of IUN. This project will result in lighting improvements, street lighting improvements, approximately $2 million worth of changes, and crosswalk improvements between 33rd and 35th Avenues to improve safety in crossing the street there. 3 new projects previously authorized by you within Winfield that are funded with HSIP, that's Highway Safety Improvement Program funding. And finally, another project that was previously authorized by you, an alternative fuel infrastructure project. This is a truck stop electrification project located at the Flying J truck stop at State Road 2 and I-65. As with the prior amendment, this one has been cleared, submitted to and cleared by ICT, and also exposed to public comment, with no comments received, and was recommended for approval by TechPC.
And for the mayors, I think you want to keep an eye on the transponders and taking that opportunity for your communities in the near future. We'll see how this works out. The TPC recommends adoption of Resolution 1631, Amendment Number 31, to the fiscal year 2016-2019 Transportation Improvement Program.
Motion to approve.
Motion on 1631,
Second.
and a second, discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you.
The third action is on Resolution 1632, the LaPorte County fee list rankings found on pages 27 to 29. Gary Evans will explain this amendment.
Thank you. The Transportation Resource Oversight Committee, or TROC, for LaPorte County met on, I believe it was a week before last, and received information that there was a balance of approximately $317,000 in unprogrammed monies, and they selected the list of projects that are found on page 29. We are asking for you to authorize this particular list of projects, which includes wayfinding signage, PE, preliminary engineering work for LaPorte County, the purchase of bicycle racks for Michigan City Transit buses, preliminary engineering work for Singing Sands Trail. We've got 4 here, is that right? 1, 2, 3, yes. Which runs from Friendship Gardens to Beale Road, and that's where the county's project picks up. The town of La Crosse, in its historic action, we have never put a federal dollar within the town of La Crosse. This is our first action in that regard. Preliminary work, preliminary engineering for sidewalk projects, and finally for City of LaPorte, $80,000 for PE on wayfinding signage. Again, we ask for your endorsement of this list so that these projects may begin.
And we've been trying to reach out to our smaller communities, and this is a wonderful effort for us. The TPC recommends adoption of Resolution 1632, the LaPorte County fee list rankings.
Move to adopt.
I have a motion
Second.
and a second, discussion.
Just want to say thank you to Gary and all the nursing staff for all the work of going through this. This is a part of the process with the adjusted committee structure to be able to have plans with the fee list recommendations and make sure that we have proactive communications amongst all the participants in the different groups to ensure that all the funds are utilized, and then oversight exists throughout the process. And so it's great to see this come to fruition and then have a plan moving forward. So thanks for all of your work and all the staff to support this.
Any further discussion on 1632? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
The fourth action is on Resolution 1633, Amendment Number 1 to the fiscal year 2017-2018 Unified Planning Work Program. found on pages 30 to 37. Iman Ibrahim will explain this amendment. NERC is grateful to NDOT for allowing us to use the carryover funds for these programs.
Good morning, everybody. This amendment is the first amendment to the Unified Planning Worker Program, and it includes adding a new program and also amend the budget for existing projects within the Unified Planning Worker Program for 2017. The new program is a household travel survey. The last survey we had was almost 10 years ago, and we are required for the transportation conformity is to update our travel pattern within the region. And to do that, we needed a budget, and that was a carryover from 2016. And that will look at the origin and destination for users on the road and how the pattern looks like. So we're still looking for additional funding, but we were able to get 145,000. That's including local match. The second amendment is for existing project. We already started this project in 2016 using safety funding, HSIP, and that's for USDA I-65 safety planning study. The total amount that was carried over to 2017 is 288, almost 900,000. And we hired the consultant, ratio, architects and planners, and working with the BF&S in this study. And the consulting service is about 248,000. The third amendment is to amend the budget for the current air quality education and outreach for two programs, 25041 and 25042, and that's under the NERC programs, adding for the first one almost 177,420, and for the second program 223,013,000. So, and of course, adding to that the 20% of a local match. So that's all the amendment, the first amendment that we have for the Unified Planning Worker Program, and I'm just asking for adoption.
TPC recommends adoption of Resolution 1633, Amendment Number 1 to the fiscal year 2017-2018 program.
Motion?
Second.
Second? Any discussion?
It's just wonderful that the state allowed us to carry over the funds. It's kind of unusual. It's the same situation with the B list that we look forward to working with NDOT, serving our region with keeping our funds up here.
But I think that's the last time to use a carryover?
Yes.
Yes, yeah. We're not allowed to do it again.
All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Thank you. Go ahead.
The last action is on the interlocal agreement to engineer signage on regional trails. Ms. Braloga will explain this action. Sorry, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Good morning. Good morning. Page 38, you will see the interlocal cooperation agreement that has been floated around for quite a few months. And just to provide you some background on what this is about, NERC is taking the step of working with several communities along both the Erie, Lackawanna, and Prairie du Chien trails in both Porter and Lake County to bring unified signage to fruition. If you haven't been on these trails, you probably don't know where you're at. I've always referred to these two trails, and really most of our regional system is having an identity crisis. When you're on them, you don't know exactly where you're going, what streets you're crossing, what miles you're at. So this signage program will rectify those glaring errors with our trail network. And to that extent, we were able to work with 10 entities that have managerial jurisdiction on all these trail miles between the two systems in both counties. All the communities have signed off on this interlocal cooperation agreement that was prepared by Michael Griffin, as you can tell by all of the appropriate Indiana code references in there. It would be a record. So there's a lot of language, but basically it's just saying that each of the communities, by their authority, have agreed to this interlocal. The 10 before aforementioned entities have signed off, and NERC is the last entity to agree to this interlocal before we get it recorded in both Lake and Porter County. I want to also mention is that this is just for engineering services for both of these trails. We will get into another agreement regarding the actual construction of that project. I'll work with Gary. I'll try to find some extra money out there to make it work. But right now, we're just trying to get it engineered in a unified fashion and then move forward with the construction, hopefully next year.
Mr. Chairman, we recommend the acceptance of the contract.
There is a recommendation to accept the contract and authorize signature on that contract.
Correct.
Is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All those in any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
The committee also heard updates from all the topical committees. That information is available if you're interested. Documents for all of them. Due to the November 8th elections, the next technical planning committee will be moved up 1 week to Tuesday, November 1st at 9 a.m. in NERC's Lake Michigan room. That concludes my report.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
on behalf of Michael Griffin, I'd like to thank Mr. Breitsky for his elocution of the report and to congratulate him for his ephemerality, his editorial acumen. I have no idea what I just said.
Regardless, my mother and Michael's mothers would be proud of you.
I might point out there's a thesaurus in the lobby.
Thank you.
NDOT report, Mr. Powers, what have you to share?
First of all, I'm sorry for missing the last meeting. I came here. You weren't. So
You don't get points. So.
there's no doubt I don't get points. I know that.
Lindsay did a fine job pinch hitting for you.
But with that, of course, I probably have some things to say that I would have said there because it was more timely than probably to talk about 21st Century Crossroads. But I think that came up while I was outside taking this call that I just had to take. But I think I would share the sentiment that I was hearing when I came back in the room to say that that effort was monumental. It was an amazing success. I would also say this, to the success of this district, we were number one. In submissions and applications, I want to say it was like 163 total, I believe. None rejected, all awarded. We had communities that have never received state funding. They received funding. It was expedited, as you know, from the point of the General Assembly, and again, I wish the representative were here to say what marvelous work they did. But even then, being proud of my own department, and I am proud of NDOT to serve since a couple of years I've been with them, but we were given a monumental task to administer it. The money was there, how to do it wasn't, and I would say they came together as a team, us, and got it done quickly. In fact, I wish it would kind of bleed over into other meaning other, because it was pretty simple. And with the exception of some of the asset management plans, but even our consultants in the room, I mean, everyone came on board and did what had to be done, and it got done. And it's making an impact already. You're seeing it already. I mean, to move this quickly and have the program administered this year, to beat winter. I mean, I drove some of the roads in the port the other day where the award, it seemed like yesterday we were doing the press conference and they're working. It's just phenomenal. So again, congratulations to everyone who submitted. A great job to everyone that did the work to submit, and it's a huge success. So I think I want to say it was, I may have said it's like 30 million total, or around that for our district. So good job, everyone. That's all. Congratulations. The second thing I wanted to talk about is when I first came to work in 2014, they had just made an arrest of someone. I don't know how much wire they had stolen along 80, 94, and then corridor, but a great deal, as I recall. They caught him. Well, either a relative or somebody they know or somebody they taught is back. And so we are, again, the victims of wire theft. So I would ask all of you and your local authorities, police, public safety, if you see a vehicle in and around one of our lighting facilities that doesn't look like an NDOT vehicle or a reputable electrician, or again, we have a contract with a few but not many. And normally you would see like heavy equipment, a bucket truck or something along those lines, please dial 911. I mean, it's that important because somebody can lose their life. It's not we even have to take care of the scofflaw. They touch the wrong wire, they're dead, and then we'll be talking about that. And I don't want to do that. But on the other side of that, it's costing the taxpayers a great deal of money to replace it. I mean, one junction box can range from $4,000 to $15,000 to repair when we're the victim of this. So that being said, we are coming forth. I don't want to give away our tactics. We are working with authorities. We have some ideas for prevention. We're considering anti-tamper devices, some that will notify us if they are tampered, keying type areas, again, that are going to make it a little harder for our people to work on it routinely, but make it harder to steal as well. But I did want to let everyone know and give them a heads up. If you do see that more, so I'm just appealing that please let us know and let the authorities know if you see it, because it's starting to make an impact again. Third, we're moving through trying to refresh all the pavement markings. I think at the previous meeting I said we had an issue with some of the water-based paint and so on that we were working with, and we kind of, I think, got off track a little bit on what we're doing, pavement marking refresh. We are working through that now and hope to complete that by winter, so keeping my fingers crossed on that. Fourth, winter prep, our fleet, for the first time we mothballed a percentage of our fleet during the winter, or the off-season this summer. We took 38 trucks and parked them in Winnemac at a preservative type level, and it saved us a great deal of money in maintenance. It forced our units and the mechanics and people like that to do things on trucks they had left. Again, this is the old fleet manager in me. I kind of feel really good about this, but it's one of those where you don't need it, park it, and then we made them beg to take one out because they made them fix the trucks they had. It's going to save, again, the taxpayers a great deal of money, because now these trucks are coming back in service this winter for what we need them for, to plow. So that went extremely well, and I was really proud of them in that regard. Construction is moving forward, as you know, a little bit of everywhere it seems, but we are actually on track in that regard too. So kind of a good time to be in NDOT right now, although if you're driving through one of the construction zones, as I heard the gentleman say earlier, please be aware. And as I've said here before, I'll never miss the opportunity to say, as he said, this latest incident was tragic. They're always tragic. But invariably, we again are calling for these projects to be done. We're doing the best we can to move traffic through them. And I can't help but say it's usually someone looking down or away and not at the road in front of them or the cones or the people working in those zones, as is the case here. And again, I would say this, your car is not a phone booth. And distractions are invariably, in this day and age, that device. And it's, again, that's brickology, that is not science. I just see it. We all see it. And I think we can do a great deal by, again, we are looking at the enforcement processes and so on to try to get there, but nothing, again, as I've told staff, we can engineer to the nth. We're never going to get to the point where we're putting bumpers on the bowling alley to keep from throwing a gutter ball. This is going to happen. And it's only going to be public awareness and people not tolerating it that's truly going to make an impact on it. So I hope we're all in agreement. I know we are. And probably don't even need to say any more about that, but I just wanted to let you know about that. The last thing, if there was a question, and I missed the last meeting, we were working with Gary on the high water issues, and still are. We're waiting for the city to respond. They're videotaping some downstream stuff on drainage, and we are doing some elevations, surveying elevations to look at promote positive drainage on the surface level to that point. So as soon as we get the reports back from Gary, we'll be moving forward with the stormwater side of this and see what we can do to alleviate that. I think I'm caught up. Thank you so much for your time. And again, I'm sorry I missed the last one.
No problem. Thank you, Mr. Powers.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Well, I'm thinking of it. There was some news about Ileana last week. And could you update us on what's what's happening between Illinois and Indiana.
Actually, I did not get that update, so no, I don't feel comfortable even offering, other than we are in the same position that we have always been, to the point of what we will do if Illinois is able to go forward. That is still the position we have as an agency. I mean, from a grander scheme, I don't know what is happening relative to communication or what Illinois is doing, or their willingness to move forward, or their ability to, maybe not willingness, ability might be a better term to put there, but we are still prepared to move forward.
Well, I'm always cautious of what comes out in the newspaper. However, it came back online last week, and we just want to be aware for the sake, particularly of Lake County, because right now it goes to 65.
Correct. And again, that's where, as an agency, we are still prepared. As a state, we are still prepared to move if Illinois is able to move.
I'm just going to opine, and I don't have any inside track either, other than I think the action had to do with the lawsuit that was filed against the Ilian. I think that was the action that the state of Illinois took to address that lawsuit. I'm not aware of any change in the governor's position in Illinois, or any, as you indicated, any change in that.
Again, and we just had an executive staff meeting just earlier this week, so, and I'm sure that would have been the topic had there been.
Okay, very good. We are ready for other business.
I have one item that I would like to mention. The Government Affairs Committee, Legislative Committee for NERC has not met yet, but we are planning to probably have some gathering, I would hope next month, November, to be able to put together a plan of action heading into the legislative session for the General Assembly starting in January. So Ty and I talked briefly about trying to put something together of a date. We just didn't get there just yet before this meeting, but we will shortly. And what I'd be looking to do with the committee is to probably have some cohesion between what we see happening from organizations like the Association of Indiana Counties and Accelerating Indiana's Municipalities, the artist formerly known as IACT. And so a lot of good work that's being done by those entities, and we want to make sure that we're working proactively to have a cohesive and well thought out strategy leading into the General Assembly session, as well as continuing to work with our federal representatives and senators going into next year as well. So for the members of the Legislative Committee, anticipate that probably some point in November we'll get together to put together that agenda. Oh, second thing I would have is just to say to Mr. Powers and all the folks at INDOT, thank you for all of the great work that you did. And if Representative Soliday was here, he was a huge champion for us, but to all folks who supported that legislation in the General Assembly, it's been fantastic to see it come to actual asphalt and new roads for the city of LaPorte. So greatly appreciate all the hard work that went into that.
Did I understand you to say that there would be a legislative committee meeting before December?
Yes.
There will be an official meeting.
I'll go ahead and commit to that.
Well, I want to get the plan in place.
Yes.
Any other business?
Mr. Chairman, also, we've been watching the proposed Great Lakes Basin Railroad plans, and I think that's one of the best ways to keep posted is on the Hot Topics line on our NERC webpage. But we just want to be aware things are still ongoing on the studies and the arguments.
Okay, very good. Other business? Yes, sir.
Next week, speaking to that, I don't know, it probably will be brought up, there's a freight committee that will be next Tuesday. So we'll probably be talking about that because we're trying to set that up and what we're going to lobby for and what we're going to do. So
it's good to hear the committees are cranking up here. It's a good thing. Appreciate that. Any other business? We have public comment. Mr. Nowacki. Oh, I'm sorry.
Announcements?
I'm going to get to that.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, I overlooked that.
That's all right, your transgression is noted. Mr. Nowacki, you have the floor. You signed up to make comments, so...
Yes, thank you, Mr. President, members of the commission. My name is Jim Nowacki. I'm a resident in the city of Gary. We're just 2 weeks away from us nominating the next 45th President of the United States. The primaries were dominated by conversation among the candidates about the relative presence or absence and the relative comparison size of candidates' genitalia. The general election is dominated by the candidates referring to each other as liars. 66% of the American public agrees with both candidates. Neither candidate qualified to serve as president, probably the first time in the U.S. history. One of the candidates refers to the election as being rigged. The governor of our state agrees. The election is rigged. System is rigged, they refer to. I wanted to make some comments regarding the INDOT project, the 1220 project. I refer to this almost every meeting, and I never run out of things to say. We've heard from the Gary Public Transportation Corporation about the problems with the flooding. We've heard from President of the Library Board concerning issues of flooding. I've been complaining about this for some time. I see Mr. Powers is addressing it, and that's probably a step in the right direction. But the problem is much worse than that. I can tell you that as I walk down 12 and 20, and I do it several times a month from one end of the city to the other, I find places where the contractors just paved over manhole covers. I got a picture of it. If Mr. Powers is interested, he's probably not. But just paved over manhole covers. This is a new $40 million project, and clearly they didn't do the job right. But even more important than that, and this is the long-term problems with the work that INDOT has done in that corridor. Now we have other projects, like for instance the bicycle lane, the Greenlink project. Millions and millions of dollars of federal money being expended on the new Greenlink project. But where these two projects converge, they have to deal with the errors made by the previous contractors on 1220. So this is now a cascading effect. As we spend $40 million to do this project, now we're spending tens of millions of dollars on follow-up projects, but the projects can't be aligned because of the problems with the sidewalks and et cetera. So you've got conditions all over the corridor where the sidewalks all have to come down and up at different angles, not because of a topographical problem, but because the work was done wrong. Now, Mr. President, I'm glad to see that we're forming an environmental justice committee in this, because it's very important. If we're under the impression that you have to go far away to find dilapidated communities, I think Otter or something like that. No, you don't. You can go right down the road to the largest geographical city in our community and find those conditions in spades. So, while I'm grateful that we're looking at these flooding problems, they were entirely preventable. I've been bringing them to Mr. Powers and his predecessor's attention for years. We're seeing some address. When we talk about the political class, and I know we like to think that we can all just pat each other on the back, but let me tell you, it's going to take more than just money to fix the way we do business in Northwest Indiana. It's going to take some attention to being respectful and not just grabbing dollars just because they're available. I think we have to be more careful. But Mr. Powers, I wish you the best of luck. But it wasn't your problem necessarily. But the whole board here, it's just absolutely embarrassing to see the millions and millions and millions of dollars being wasted. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. That was the only comment that was registered, which is our request that you sign up ahead of time, and Mr. Nowacki has done that according to the procedure. procedures that are in place. I would like to make just one quick comment, and that's in regards to this very sad situation, deplorable situation in East Chicago with the lead. People are being relocated, yards are being scraped up because of past environmental sins that people have committed, maybe unknowingly, maybe because they didn't care. But at any rate, we have an awful lot of people, folks in East Chicago. The folks in East Chicago are suffering greatly with having to find other places to live, or having their yards scraped up, or even worse, their houses torn down because of this lead contamination. And it's not an acceptable situation, in my opinion. We're paying a price for past sins. All we can do now is try and make it right. That doesn't mean I'm not empathetic to their situation. It's a very serious situation. My heart goes out to Mr. Mayor Copeland with what he's dealing with there in East Chicago. That's the only other comment I would like to make before the announcements. So that's your... Oh, Bob, I'm sorry, I didn't recognize your hand again.
All right. Every year, Cedar Lake Chamber does the Gene Eberly Parade Lights. I had Mayor Karen Freeman Wilson judge once here, Ty judged, and I'm looking for 3 volunteers to judge the Gene Eberly Parade Lights on November 19th. And prizes are first place $500, second place $400, third place $300, fourth $200, and fifth place $100. So anybody interested in judging this for me, I'd appreciate it.
And he said, let there be light. Any other announcements? I guess it's up to you.
All right, if there's no other announcements on the part of the commission, we have a special announcement and recognition today. I was told just before the meeting that whenever a former staff person comes into the room, you know that something is going on. And in case you may have noticed that John Swanson, my predecessor, former executive director of NERC, is here with us today. I'm very grateful for him being here. What I'm going to do is actually ask Mitch Barloga to come on up. Mitch will give a short presentation.
Maybe.
I think he will. And then I will.
Well, I'm not talking, so it's a good thing.
Yeah. I will make just some brief comments and then actually ask John Swanson then to come up and make some additional comments.
Get the lights, please. There you go. I'm embarrassing Steve again. Sorry, Steve.
I'm covering mine. I'm capable of doing that myself.
Hold on 1 second. Hold on 1 second. 1 second. How about those Cubs? I do that as a Sox fan in honor of Steve, by the way.
Welcome to the Packers.
Yeah, well, one thing at a time.
Thank you very much, Mitch. Let me just say a few comments, then I'm going to ask John Swanson to say a few more comments. First of all, we're not going to meet again until December 8th, which is why we're also acknowledging Belinda this particular meeting. Sadly, Belinda had to be in Michigan this week for a family-related issue, and so wasn't able to be here in person. But as you can see from Mitch's presentation, there's been quite a bit of history that both Steve and Belinda have experienced. I'm going to focus in on Steve a little bit here. When I was first coming on board and John was talking to me about NERC and getting me ready for coming here, the phrase I remember that John used to describe Steve was a steady hand. And I have found that to be absolutely true. Steve has been a resource, he's been a coach, he's been an advocate, he's been a champion. Steve carries a lot of the history with him, has been a resource for being able to share that. I don't want to, Steve is working on a history project to compile all that NERC history in conjunction with our 50th, and has done a great job pulling that together and has brought in articles to me from time to time to prove that NERC has been dealing with a lot of issues for a long time, some of which come back and still get hammered away at. But Steve has been a historical resource. He's been a holistic planner. You've seen slides about his trumpet playing. You've already heard about his love of the Cubs, and we'll talk about the Packers, but he brings a lot more to the office than just the strict technical aspect of planning. And finally, Steve has been a relational planner. I can't hardly go anywhere in northwestern Indiana without somebody asking about Steve and asking how Steve's doing, and that doesn't know Steve. And Joyce Newland is here from FHWA, has been working with Steve a long time. Joyce, glad that you're here this morning. And in keeping up that recognition, before I turn it over to John, what I've got right here is we stole this out of Steve's office. Steve was awarded by the MPO Council at the conference that was just held in South Bend at the end of last month, the MPO Council's Award for Meritorious Service, recognizing his benefit not just to NERC, but for all the MPOs in the entire state, with the way he's participated on that council, served as a resource, took notes for them for a long time. And he was recognized with a standing ovation at the MPO Council conference in September. So we're grateful for all of Steve's years of service. He's with us through the end of until the end of the month, basically. And John, thank you for being here today.
Thank you. First of all, it's good to see all of you again. And second, that's good I only started 12 years ago, so you don't have any embarrassing pictures of me. Although I did look good in a leisure suit and with long side. But I really appreciate this opportunity to both on some remarks about Belinda and Steve both, as I had occasion to work with them during 8 years of my career here. And the remarkable thing is that their combined history is like 80 plus years. And we realized that NERC's only been here 50 years. I got to get my math straight on this. 40 years apiece, but that's, I guess, 80% of the NERC's history for both of them, so that's really extraordinary. When I came to Northwest Indiana in 2004, I actually had some familiarity with the managerial staff and many of the planners because I had been fully in the role of interstate coordinator for Northeastern Illinois at that time. But there were two people I didn't know were Steve Strings and Belinda Petrosky. And I made the decision early on that I was going to meet one-on-one with every one of the employees here at NERC, and I'm really glad I did because it was insightful, in some cases eye-opening. But I found two things about Belinda and Steve that they had in common. One, they both love and are committed to Northwest Indiana. This is their home. They believe strongly in its past and in its future. And secondly, they both told me that they really thought NERC could do a better job and help make this a better region, which to live, work, and play. And those impressions from the first interviews stuck with me all this time. And I think I was grateful to have staff of that type working for me. It was actually very, very positive. It sort of reinforced, I think, what I wanted to see down here too at NERC. But let me start with Belinda, and the fact that she's not here has never stopped me from talking about her. As you saw, on his slide presentation. She wasn't born in the region, but she grew up here. And after finishing up her degree at Indiana University Northwest, she started her long, illustrious career at NERC. As most young planners, she was given a lot of different assignments, a lot of different areas. I found out at one point that she did the first overall economic development plan for Northwest Indiana, something that was a precursor to a lot of the work that we've done in economic development in these past 10 years. But she really found her true passion in public transportation and also in public involvement, as it turned out. So that when I came here, I realized that I got somebody who really, really believes in a subject that wasn't always well supported, that could be controversial, very topical, but she believed. And she really felt that public transportation was critical, a lifeline, if you will, for many of the residents of Northwest Indiana. And her goal, her mission, if you will, was to both sustain and improve public transport in this region. And I commend her for all her outstanding work, because it was a tough battle that still has to be fought, obviously, at times. The other thing is that she was very good at public participation. And I felt like we challenged her quite a bit. We introduced her to new technology. We came up with a work plan for the 2040 plan that required her to virtually give up almost every night that she had, and weekends. And then also she had to deal with the consent decree hearings that we had to go through under our consent decree with everybody counts. And those could also be difficult and challenging. And I commend Belinda for doing it and doing it well. And I commend her to you for her outstanding work in those two areas. With Steve, I guess from the start I appreciated his strong Midwestern values, his ethics, his commitment to professionalism. And when I started, he was only one of, I think, 2 NERC staff at that time who had the American Institute of Certified Planners certification. And it's a recognition of professional accomplishment, and you've got to sustain it. You've got to keep studying, learning more, and then making sure that you can keep that certification. And Steve is very conscientious of that, and he also encouraged his staff to become developed, to expand their planning skills. And I really appreciate that too, Steve, very much so. But I reorganized the staff. And in this new reorganization, I first made Steve the director of planning in a newly formed planning department. And then I had him double duty because I asked him also to be the deputy director, second in command, if you will. And we came up with a staff of some 14 people in the new planning department, all directly reporting to him. And somebody said, no, isn't the span of control supposed to be 7 or something like that? And I said, yeah, let's try it. We're flattening the organization. He's going to work with all of them. And it became necessary, obviously, as we moved into the 2040 plan. We also were faced with a situation that only one, I think, planning staff member at that time had ever worked on a comprehensive regional plan. So we had to start with some very basic things in terms of what a comprehensive plan is, what's intended to do, and then the process for doing it and getting the staff to work as a team. And also something I could take pride in is I really saw a group of not just those 14 staff, but Kathy Lucer's environmental department, a very high-powered consulting team worked with us, and it really had to pull it all together in order to accomplish that 2040 plan. And I know one of the highlights, not for your careers, for my career, was when the 2040 plan was unanimously adopted by this board about 4 years or so ago. And then furthermore, when it got the recognition of receiving the Daniel Burnham Award from the American Planning Association at its national conference. And Daniel Burnham, of course, is the patron saint of regional planners. And in time, I like to say that that award that NERC received for the 2040 plan is like receiving the Academy Award for the best movie. It really is significant. And most planners will go through their entire career without getting that type of recognition. So, outstanding job, and I'm glad that Steve was the one who could accept it on behalf of NERC, the region, and the whole 2040 team. So, outstanding work. So, I'd just like to conclude my remarks by just saying thank you both for your dedicated and outstanding service to Northwest Indiana and to NERC. And obviously, my best wishes go with you in your future endeavors. Thank you. Thank you.
have a plaque we'd like to present to Steve, if he could come forward. We do. And then there's also, if we can, wherever that's hiding, we have a cake. So as soon as we actually formally adjourn, there's sugar to consume as well. So, should we go? Thank And the plaque says, awarded to Steve Strains in sincere appreciation of your 43 years of service to the Northwest Indiana region, its citizens, and his quality of life. And I think actually John Swanson should come on and actually be in this as well.
Can you move the microphone? It's in the middle of your picture.
Thank you, Jim.
I didn't see that.
Okay.
Once you take that photo, bring in one of our longtime commissioners, Dave Schaefer. Come on. Longtime supporter of NERC.
Hey, Dave, balance the ship. Balance the ship. Go over by Ty. There you go. Thank you.
Takes that to get recognized. Another longtime commissioner, Kevin Brightsky. That is right. Spell my name right. Jeez, I am smiling.
As good as it gets.
I know. I'm a cheesehead too.
That's right.
Awesome, Steve. Is there anything?
I appreciate every one of you. Thank you to the executive board members for being here, because you needed to be here because your vote counted. And thank you to the board members, commission members who are not on the executive board. Your presence here means that what we do here is important to you and your community. So the fact that you're all around the table means that what we do here in NERC is significant. So thank you for being here. And those of you in the audience, you're so important to bring the story back to others, especially the two of you from the media. In researching the history of NERC, I really had to rely on those news articles, many of which were authored decades ago by Tim Thorne, who's here today, and he understands the history as well as anybody. And if I leave any sort of legacy, I think it's the young staff who have been hired recently. They're going to carry on even better than people of my generation. So kudos to the young staff here, and may you have as long and as satisfying a career as I have had at NERC. I just happened to be here when NERC got a lot of things done. I wasn't involved in everything, but NERC has done a lot of significant things over the decades, over its 50 years. I just happened to be here for a lot of that history, and we remember some of that, and I was involved in some of that as well. So again, just thank you for all of you for participating in what I believe is a very important work here in Northwest Indiana. So thanks to you.
We have wheeling out as we speak. Before we adjourn, just want to draw your attention. We've got cake, and you have to make sure you take a look at that cake before you actually dive into it.
Take a picture.
And we also have copies of a profile that was done in 2014 when Steve had his 40th anniversary here at NIPSC. There was a profile and a conversation with Steve about his reflections on 40 years of service. So I will put that over near the cake, and please take that as well. So thank you, Steve, and, oh, and also if we could have, after we adjourn, if the NERC staff also could grab a picture with Steve, that would be great.
I have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second, discussion. This meeting's adjourned. Thank you.